My glasses started making me look older, and I didn't even notice. It crept up slowly. Not wrinkles, not hair, just something I was still wearing. One day, the mirror felt off. Not the lighting, not the makeup, just something in the face didn't sit right. The prescription was still fine. The frame still fit. But they no longer fit me. Because faces change, even when our glasses don't. Bones soften, skin tone fades, hair lightens, but most of us keep wearing the same frames we picked 10 years ago. And what used to feel flattering can suddenly feel harsh, too heavy, slightly out of sync. I've heard women say their face looks smaller behind the lenses now, or that the frames cast shadows under their eyes they never noticed before. Pull your hair back, skip the makeup. Suddenly the balance is off and the frames aren't helping. That's why I made this video. It's not about chasing trends or keeping up with anyone else. It's about finding a frame that actually works with your face, the tones, the softness, the shape of it now. The kind of shift you don't notice until you try something new, and suddenly the mirror makes sense again. Oh, before we dive in, let me know in the comments. Where are you watching from? And have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, did my glasses change? Or did I? Let's start with a shape that surprised me more than I expected. The soft, modern cat eye. Let's clear something up. Cat eye frames aren't what they used to be. A lot of folks hear cat eye and picture something dramatic, sharp wings, a vintage look, a little too much flair. But the modern take? Much softer. You still get that gentle lift at the corners, but nothing showy, just enough to nudge the eyes upward and bring a bit of shape back where things have softened. I've had women tell me they look more defined, not like they've done themselves up, just more awake. A woman I used to walk with had worn thick rectangular frames for over a decade. She switched to a smaller, slightly upswept cat eye and said she looked less tired instantly, even without makeup. I couldn't believe how much softer my face looked. The lines were still there, but they didn't jump out anymore. That's the power of a subtle angle. If your current frames run straight across the top, that flat line might be working against you. This shape breaks it up in a subtle way. It gives structure without adding sharpness. Now, size matters. Skip anything oversized or full of angles. What usually looks best is a medium-width frame with rounded edges, enough curve to lift, not shout. As for color, lean, warm, and gentle. Soft tortoise, amber, maybe a muted blush. If your hair's gone silver or your skin's cooled, those tones tend to settle in well. Black, unless it's super thin, can feel like too much like punctuation on a sentence that didn't need one. The right cat eye won't take over your face. It'll just sit there quietly, holding everything together. And really, that's all most of us are looking for. But if you're craving something with a little more grounding, not just lift, then the next shape might be what your face has been waiting for. Things get a little softer over time. The jawline isn't as sharp. Cheeks settle in differently. The whole outline of the face starts to blur a bit. You're not imagining it. That's where rounded square frames can really help. They've got structure just enough to bring things back into balance, but without the sharp corners that can feel too harsh against softer features. Those boxy, hard-edged styles? They tend to shout. These don't. Rounded squares give a kind of quiet support up at the temples, along the cheeks, under the eyes. They frame things gently, without making a scene. A neighbor of mine switched from oversized, trendy frames to something softer. She said, "I had no idea how much the big frames were shortening my mid-face. I looked heavier, older, and sort of boxed in." The smaller, rounded pair she chose made her cheekbones stand out again and softened her whole look without making it too sweet. They work especially well if your face is oval and you want a bit of contrast, or if it's round or heart-shaped and needs something to ground it. Fit makes all the difference. Aim for a frame about the width of your cheekbones, maybe just a bit wider. Thick rims can be fine, but only if they've got soft curves or a lighter touch with color. Want a little extra lift? Try a matte finish or a two-tone frame that's brighter on top. It naturally pulls the eye upward. Colors like soft navy, warm bronze, or a faded tortoise gradient tend to wear well, nothing loud, just flattering. If you're after something that adds shape without showing off, this style quietly gets the job done. But what if you want shape that disappears a little more, something lighter, barely there, but still present? Let's go there next. Sometimes you just want your glasses to take a back seat. That's where lightweight metal frames come in. They don't pull focus, but they still show up. The trouble starts when they disappear completely. Go too thin, or pick a color too close to your skin, and suddenly the frames are gone, along with a lot of your face's definition. The key is finding that middle ground. You want light, yes, but not invisible. A slightly thicker line around the eyes can do wonders enough to shape the face without taking it over. Color matters here too. Warm metals like champagne gold, soft bronze, or matte rose gold add a quiet glow. They flatter without drawing attention. Bright silver or shiny chrome? That's more of a look and not always the easiest one. These frames work especially well if you keep things simple, short hair, little to no makeup, maybe a pair of stud earrings. They're not trying to change anything. They're just keeping things in place. One tip: avoid big or sharply angled shapes. Stick with frames that follow your brow line and sit close to the face. You're not aiming for a statement piece. You're just saying calmly and clearly, I've got it covered. But what if you want lightness, without the metal, something softer still, that brings in more light and lets your natural tones come through? Let's try something clearer. Looking for a way to lighten things up? Try translucent frames. They don't block light. They don't throw strange shadows across your face. And if your skin's thinned out a bit, especially around the eyes, that makes a difference. These frames don't fight your features. They step back and let your face do the talking. Eyes look brighter. Cheekbones stand out more. Your natural tone shows through, instead of getting drowned out by heavy color. One woman shared online that she'd worn dark frames for years, mostly black or deep burgundy. After switching to a frosted clear pair, she wrote, "I didn't change my makeup, but people asked if I'd done something different. My face just looked fresher, like I'd slept better." It wasn't the lenses. It was the lack of visual weight dragging her features down. These frames are especially kind if your hair's turned silver, white, or even a pale blonde. Dark frames can start to feel harsh or out of place, like they belong to a version of you from 10 years ago. This is the gentle reset. Look for clear acetate, something frosted, or a soft tint blush. Champagne, maybe a light taupe. Avoid the bright punchy colors. Those age fast and not in a good way. They're also great if you don't wear much makeup. You still get structure, but it doesn't demand anything extra. No heavy lines, no weird shadows, no fuss. Just a simple way to frame your face and let a little more light in. Still want a hint of color, just a whisper to lift your look a little more? That's where soft pastels come in. Pastel frames don't get nearly enough credit. They're subtle, sure, but don't let that fool you, they do a lot. If your coloring softened over time, silver hair, lighter skin, quieter clothes, these shades meet you right there. No push, no pull. Blush, pink, soft olive, pale blue, dusty lavender. They give your face a quiet lift. Not bold, not dark. Just enough to brighten your eyes or bring out your smile without making a scene. And if you've let go of things like blush or lipstick, these frames pick up the slack. They do a bit of that softening and brightening on their own. No makeup brush needed. Look for matte or frosted finishes. They settle in better, less shine, more natural. Glossy frames can look a little too done, especially if the rest of you isn't playing along. Best part? Pastels love simple outfits. Gray tee, white shirt, old jeans, they all look sharper with a soft-colored frame sitting on your face. If you've been craving a change, but don't want to rethink your whole routine, this is an easy one. A quiet shift that makes everything feel a little more awake. But maybe you don't want softness all over. Maybe you just need lift at the top. That's where Browline frames quietly do their magic. Browline frames are a smart little trick. They give shape where you need it across the top half of your face and leave the bottom half open. That matters more than you'd think, especially as the lower face softens with age. The heavier upper rim naturally pulls the eye upward. It's a soft lift, not a bold one. And if your brows have thinned out or faded, this style helps fill that space without looking like it's trying too hard. They're especially flattering on oval and round faces, or if your cheeks have filled out a bit more or your jawline isn't as sharp as it used to be. These frames balance things out without closing you in. Frames shouldn't touch your cheeks when you smile. If they do, they're probably too big. That's where Browline frames help. They add structure up top, but keep the bottom rim light and away from your face. The shape works with your smile, not against it. Look for a matte or softly colored top rim, something warm like brown, navy, rose gold, or a muted charcoal. Keep the bottom rim clear or minimal. You don't want extra weight dragging your face down. And here's a nice perk. Accessories stand out more. Since the bottom of your face stays open, earrings, scarves, even a layered necklace, they've got room to shine without fighting the frames. If your current glasses feel bulky or too closed off, this is an easy, lighter fix. Structure where it counts, and nothing getting in the way. But some days, you don't want subtle. You want presence, confidence, maybe even a little flair. Let's talk statement frames. Some days, quiet just doesn't cut it. You want your glasses to show up, and maybe even steal a little spotlight. That's where statement frames come in. They're bold, but not noisy. Just enough shape or color to give your face more presence without tipping into costume territory. And they work best when everything else steps back. Simple outfit, bare makeup, hair left alone. Let the frames carry it. The key is choosing bold with some thought. Oversized styles can overwhelm softer features. Instead, go for medium-sized frames with curved edges, something that holds its shape but still feels like part of your face. Look for rich, soft colors: plum, teal, warm tortoise, marbled neutrals, maybe a quiet stripe. They add depth without pushing too hard. If you've stopped wearing bright lipstick or colorful clothes, this is how you bring that energy back. No mirror touch-ups needed. A strong frame becomes the thing. One choice that makes everything else easier. You don't need a bunch of extras. Just one piece that says, "Here I am." But if that still feels like a leap, there's one shape left. Soft, quiet, and gently uplifting. The one that often gets overlooked. Let's end with that. This one flies under the radar, but makes a real difference. They bring together two things that tend to matter more now: a soft, gentle shape and a quiet, upward tilt at the corners. That little tilt draws the eye back up right where time and gravity tend to pull it down. Temples, outer eyes, those spots that used to have more structure, this shape gives them a gentle nudge, without any fuss. The oval base keeps it easy and wearable. No angles, no edges, just a smooth line that flatters rounder, fuller, or heart-shaped faces. One woman described it perfectly. "I didn't even think of this shape until a stylist handed it to me. I put them on and blinked. Suddenly my whole face looked more alert, but I didn't look done up, just fresher." That's often the case with upswept ovals. They're not the loud choice, but they often turn out to be the right one. If you've got short or layered hair that leaves more of your face uncovered, these frames can add just enough definition around the eyes. They don't demand attention. They just make things look more awake. Stick with mid-tone or light shades: champagne, pearl, soft bronze, rosewood. Leave the stark colors behind. You want something that blends in and supports, not something that steals the show. If you're looking for balance, not boldness, this is a shape that quietly shows up and does the job. And sometimes, that quiet shift is all it takes to feel more like yourself again. You don't need to reinvent yourself. Sometimes, it's just about noticing when something's no longer doing you any favors and making a quiet change. Faces shift over time. Lines soften. Colors fade. The definition moves around. And those old frames that used to feel just fine, they can start tipping things off balance without you even realizing it. Most women don't clock it right away. They just know something's off in the mirror. Then they try on a new shape. Not wild, not trendy, just something that fits who they are now. That's what these 8 frame styles are meant to do. Each one helps in a slightly different way. Maybe it lifts, maybe it lightens, maybe it just backs off and lets your features breathe. It's not about a whole new look. It's about the right shape, the right tone. A pair of glasses that knows when to lead and when to disappear. And if you're not sure where to start, try the one that makes you pause, the one just outside your usual pick. That little shift can be all it takes to see yourself fully and clearly again. Before you go, I'd love to know which frame caught your eye the most. Or maybe what kind of glasses are you wearing right now? Let me know in the comments. It's always such a joy hearing your stories. I'm so glad you came along.